Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns new skates. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Mr. Sharples. My name is Ian Bagg. The show is called Enjoying Orange Slices. The game is hockey. The people are Canadians. How are you?
I'm good. I was just saying before we went on, it looks like I'm wearing a neck guard today. I don't know.
It looks like you're going right on the ice. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, back in the day, the European guys used to wear the turtlenecks, and some of the French guys, because they can pull that off, right? It was kind of a fashionable thing. But now the neck guards kind of look like they're turtlenecks, and I never could pull off a turtleneck, but you know what? I see guys. I was looking this morning. I thought, maybe it looks more like a neck guard now, but.
Now you're just trying to keep yourself safe. Did I ever tell you about the time I went to a game in Philadelphia and the two guys that sat in front of me had a home and away jersey on, and underneath they had a home and away turtlenecks going on. They had a white and a black turtleneck going on. And I'm just like, that's not what I was expecting in Philadelphia. So.
Exactly, like in Philly. Maybe those guys went into the bathroom at the end of the game before they went outside to take them off. But I remember a guy, Thomas Plekanec, used to wear a turtleneck with the Canadians. He looked dapper out there, right? And I don't think hockey players are really ever about dapper, but some of them, they try and tuck their uniform in the back of their pants, but you know what? So they don't get no heckling, but the guys used to wear the turtlenecks. They were like, "Oh, that guy's so out of line," right? But it looked good.
Well, what do you know? What the reason? And I think it still is breaking the rule. You're not allowed to tuck your jersey. It's actually a violation. Do you know why that is?
No, I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, well, you have to tie your jersey down because what was happening years ago with a lot of the tough guys, and Rob Ray was as tough as they come. They would end up coming out of their whole jersey and they'd just have no shirt or just their t-shirt on underneath, and the other guys would have no way of controlling them. So I know they went to the tie down years ago, and that's why if you don't have a tie down and you get in an altercation and your uniform comes off, or even if it doesn't, I think, and they check and see your tie down's not done, that's, I think, an automatic game misconduct. And so, I mean, there's not a whole bunch of fighting in the league anymore anyways, but that was brought in. I don't know, because there's guys that tuck their uniforms in all the time. So they mustn't police it very well.
They like to pick their rules, and they're like, whatever.
Hey, talking about rules, last night was Indigenous night in Vancouver, and we watched that game, obviously in different places, but the kids from the Musqueam band in Vancouver did the warm-up jersey, which now the NHL doesn't wear the warm-up jerseys, and it looks phenomenal. What they did with the Orca, there's something about First Nations art that I've always, we grew up with a lot of Indigenous friends and First Nations up in northern British Columbia. I always loved the Haida colors, but the Musqueam, what they did with that crest and last night, check it out. It's online, and these two young guys from the Musqueam band in Vancouver did it, and it's just, there's nothing more beautiful than that native art, and it looks so good. And it was just a shame. At some point, I think the guys are just gonna be like, why can't we wear this on the ice for warm up? And and so if I was Quentin Hughes last night, I know he's got to focus on playing his brothers because they played New Jersey, but I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to put it on. And it's just like when the one guy put the rainbow tape on his stick because the LGBTQ community. I think you're going to see more of that, where guys are like, you know what, one
Yeah.
size doesn't fits all. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I just want people to see what the Musqueam, two young guys from the Musqueam band in Vancouver did last night.
Go check
it
it.
looks
Go check it out.
phenomenal.
We'll have Brian put it up right here, and take a look at this jersey. It looked fantastic. Yeah, I think you should be able to pick something that you want to do throughout the year, a couple times a year. There's 30 guys on the team. There's 82 games. That will give everybody basically 30 games at each that they could do something. So
Yeah. Well, and the thing is about, they had these jerseys like the other night, the Winnipeg game, that was Royal Canadian Air Force night, and those jerseys were throwbacks. They looked so awesome. They had the Royal Canadian Air Force band there in Winnipeg. Flat sent me a video of that, and it was really a cool thing. So, I think you can tip your hat to and acknowledge. And the other thing we talk about all the time is growing the game. Right? You got to push your walls out, not close them in on yourself. And
exactly,
we're not all going to agree on everything. I get that, but you know what? As long as
if we can agree to disagree, that's where we need to, and that's where we need to get to right now. Everybody's got to agree that we disagree on some things, and the world will be a much better place. By the way, speaking of fantastic, I like the Arizona scale. They scored a goal for every 1,000 seats in the building the other night.
I love it. You know what? They've won 5 in a row, and
on fire.
They are. And I was up north and spent some time with my nephew Kayla, and he goes, I can't wait to see Game 7 of the playoff series in the Mullet Arena. And of course, he's being facetious about it, but I can't either. And this is the thing: like, if you have teams like St. Louis, Nashville's hanging around, Arizona's in there. I'm losing track of the other Western wild card, but like everyone's talking about Columbus. That's who it is. It's Columbus. But everybody's talking about how Edmonton's going to catch up, and I'm like, it's going to be a real battle to climb over these other teams.
Minnesota's coming out of there.
Yeah.
They
won their 4th in a row. So
we're cutting each other up, but it says how important those beginning games are, because you need those points, because now everybody's just in traffic jam. So how do you get by the traffic jam? So it's
yeah. I mean, if you look at some games we watched this week, like St. Louis and Vegas the other night. St. Louis went into Vegas, and these two teams went at it, and it was ended up 2-1 in overtime for St. Louis, and Bennington played great, but St. Louis, I just was thinking, how would you like to play them in a 7-game series? I mean, you got to give Berube credit, man. That guy has got those guys playing again. And I was thinking shorter term, I'm like, how does a team like Edmonton or someone behind them climb over them? Because they're going to get their pound of flesh from you when you play them, and they're going to be tough. And so, St. Louis really impressed me. Bennington plays like that. They're in the playoffs right now. I don't see how they come out. They're in the other wild card. I don't see how they don't make it.
He's popped back up, right? He's actually playing quite good. I don't know what all of a sudden just lit under a fire on him, but he's back. He's back playing well. So
it looks good. So we watched St. Louis and Vegas the other night. Really good game. We watched New Jersey last night. Who could score the most goals the fastest with them in Vancouver. And here's another thing. Vancouver got off to that great start. They're 500 in their last 14 games, like 7-7 or something like that. But they got off to that fantastic start. So they can kind of
they can have a couple struggles right. Yeah, they can have some struggles right now. Yeah.
Right. Whereas instead of going 4-10 to start, where you don't have that room anymore. And so, Vancouver and New Jersey was just an odd man rush fest last night. It was, and New Jersey, when they're going, they are dynamic. I mean, they're so quick. Vancouver had all kinds of trouble hanging on to them last night.
I love Garland. I love the way he plays, but he was driving me insane last night with his behind the back passes.
He's got a great stash going though right now, doesn't he?
He does. He's Movembering in December.
You know what? Connor Garland's one of those guys. When he was in Arizona, I just loved him because he's kind of greasy. He's agitating. He's never really found that game in Vancouver to this point, but he does have a lot of the skill set. But yeah, when you're passing it behind your back in any league, it's not good normally. And
he did twice where it drove me insane last night. I'm like,
well, you know what? Here's kind of what I say to the kids in minor hockey. I go, when you're throwing it blindly behind your back where you just came from, what are the what's the percentage that we're going to be able to maintain possession of the puck, right? So one of the first things I said this year when we were out, they had tryouts in the summer, is guys, lose that pass. Don't ever use it again. Don't ever throw it behind your back. Like if you realize Pedersen or McDavid, those guys 99% of the time know where they're sending it to. But even
how often do you see them do it, right? Like,
not very often. And so
exactly,
normally guys do that because they've run out of options in their mind, and that's when you just chip the puck ahead or put it in a spot where someone else can get in on the forecheck, or they can't do anything with it right away. When you throw a behind the back pass, it's normally going to the middle of the ice. That is not good.
Re-gift that gift.
Well, it is Christmas time. Christmas is on its way.
Give it to it. Here you go. If you look under the tree, there's a backhand pass for you.
Hey, that's what we should get of each other for Christmas. A couple backhand passes.
A couple backhand. Go looking for it down the street. I watched San Jose and New York on Sunday night, which was a fun game to watch. Jajinabad. I like that guy so much. Jajinabad and Panair. The bread man is just on fire. But you know who else is on fire? Is Jonathan Quick. Oh my God.
Zibanejad.
So fantastic. No haircut. No haircut, Dad.
So you know what? You just took me back to Don Cherry and Biekska. When he called Kevin Biekska, right? Biekska. And then the other night we were called, like he was on and all I could think about is Don Cherry calling him Biekska. And now I can't even say his name properly, but Zibanejad, and how did you say that again?
Jinimanadabad. It may be one of the best names in the NHL, and it may be one of the best haircuts in the NHL, and he may be one of the best players in the NHL. He's got it all going on.
Yeah, and he's Swedish. That's the best part. Like, this guy's unreal. I've always liked him. Remember where he started? He was in Ottawa to start, right? And they traded him. I can't remember who they traded him for, but yeah, the bread man. New York is now squeezed in front of Boston for first in the Eastern Conference.
What are they games wise? Does New York have a couple games on them, or how's that working?
That's a good question, but I think they're within a game of each other, maybe. And I just looked at it this morning, but I was just shocked because Boston's leveled a little bit. They're still really good, but
still really good.
Hey, let's talk about the Sharks for a sec. They went in and somehow pulled the rabbit out of the hat on Long Island, and now all of a sudden they're going, and that's so good for the league. I was listening to our old friend Honor and Hetty the other night in New Jersey when they beat New Jersey, and really, you know what, the salary cap's been put in to make the league even. I know there's some that are going to be finding their way out of the conversation, but we don't want to see you get as far out of the conversation as San Jose has been. So good for them. And you know what? It wasn't that long ago that the Shark Tank was the loudest building in the league. So they got to put some wins together, get some people back in that building, get excited about that team. So this road trip's been real good so far for them out east.
I think the fact that they were able to go, we're tearing it all the way down and rebuilding it back up is pretty ballsy. Although doing that, you're going to get so much second guessing from everybody around the league, not alone your fans. But now that they're starting to win, nobody remembers the tough times, right?
Well, and you give give a tip of the hat to David Quinn, their head coach, and the way he's kind of rescued that. I mean, there was 2 games in a row where the other opponent put up 10 goals on them, and since
Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
kind of had a a group hug and said, "Hey, boys, we got to be better than this," and they have been, and good for San Jose. And I'll get to see them, I think, next week or the week after. I believe they're in Vegas, so I'm going to make a trip down to T-Mobile and go see them.
Get your phone fixed and go see a hockey game.
go plug my phone in, get a good charge, and go watch the game.
I want to go back to Vancouver. And there's something about the New York game made me think about this, because David Quinn was the coach of New York, right? Mm-hmm. He was. So I felt like that game was important to him. But you know who was back in the building with New Jersey last night was Dallas Green.
Dallas Green. You mean Travis? Hey,
what
did he used to coach Columbus?
No, you know, it's weird. This is how my brain works. I've seen the color of the Dallas Stars team in my head. I'm pretty sure
your brain works.
Not well to Travis Green yet, but Green was back in the, so that game was huge for him.
It was, and I had to laugh because after one of the first whistles in the first period, not even a TV timeout, they're like, "Hey, thanks, Travis, for all the good times." And they kind of are like giving him one of these. And I'm like, come on, Vancouver. I think he's coached the 4th most games, or was the 4th most winning percentage coach in Vancouver history. I'm like, guys, at a TV timeout, put a 30-second thing of him up on the boards, right, running a practice, pointing to something off the bench when he was there, or a big win that they were a part of, or something. Like
benching Pettersson.
Yeah, like give the guy something. The thing about Travis is, I played with Travis, and I really like the way that I didn't play with him in Dallas. We were in the Islanders organization. But what I liked about Greeny is I loved the way he tried to get that team to play. And you know what? It's not that far of a departure from the way Talkett's got them going. The difference is, I think now, is they've got some more. We always use the word pieces, but they have some more pieces. I mean, JT Miller's going. Pettersson's going. Hughes is next level. Demko's back. They've added some pieces on the back end. They've got a little bit more depth up front. And so, I don't think he had as many pieces. Now, well, I don't know if he wore on them or not, because that seems to be a big thing now, right? The coach is wearing down the team and they got to make a change, but Talkett ain't changing, right? So they better get on board.
For whatever reason, they buy into Talkett more, right? So I don't know if that was because he was on TNT with Gretzky, though. Like, why do they buy into one guy but they don't buy into another guy?
Tough to say. Yeah, not how as you know, in your profession, Lord Bagg, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And Greeny had the greatest line to me one time. I go, Travis, why do you always shoot shelf? He goes, sharps. One shelf is worth 2 sliders. So what he meant was one top shelf shot up in the upper part of the net was worth 2 on the ice.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, I got you. No, he's a good guy, good coach, and he'll be a head coach in the league again.
But I want to bring up about this. You say about the head coach thing. We had a discussion about this. Guys needing to stay in the game to keep their name in the game. He's taken an assistant coach job to keep his name in the game to get another head coach job.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Because he could have slid right out if he just held on, right?
Yeah, and as I say this, I always think of my nephew, thinking that, especially me, I'm throwing names out there and big timing. But we know, Kalen, this is for you.
Are you big timing with Kalen?
Yeah, no, he always goes, "Oh, you're always big time with the names." But we do know some. We're not going to know them for much longer, because the people especially ones I know, are getting on. But we know quite a few people in the game, and it was shocking to me to talk to the guys that had been head coaches and assistant coaches that did not want to have their name fall off the board even for a year. They had to stay in. And so in some cases, they might take a job that otherwise they would have been more patient on. And I think I can't speak for Travis, because I haven't seen Travis for a while since he was coaching with the Canucks in Vegas. But Travis was out for a little bit, and now he's back. And I think to be relevant in a lot of coaches' eyes and people in the game is you have to stay in the game so people have visibility on you. And like the Joe Quenvilles or Gerard Gallants of the world, where they're on the outside right now. Those guys' names still keep, when a head coaching position comes up, their names get brought up, right?
Yeah.
Even Alain Vigneault kind of coach, but other guys don't think that way, and they want to get involved or stay in the game as much as they can.
Let's talk really quick. We'll talk two more teams. We got two more games or four more teams. I don't know. Let's three teams, but two games. Detroit becomes a better team last week with Kane joining them, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How much do you think he changes inside of the dressing room and not just on the ice?
That's a really good question. I think what he's going to do right away is embolden DeBrincat. Okay, remember those two were like frick and frack together in Chicago. So there's going to be a level of calmness that a guy like him, who's been the biggest player in the biggest moments, is going to bring to the room. Detroit, I love what I've seen in Detroit. I've been watching them a lot lately. They play hard, they play fast, and their goaltending seems to be just fine. Watched them last night against Buffalo. They're good. Watched them on Saturday night against Montreal. Stevie's done a great job, and Lalonde, their coach that came up from Tampa, he's had them do their thing. So it's been really good. So I think Kane's going to make a huge difference. The first game he's going to play is against San Jose on Thursday night, but he'll help the room. But where he's going to really make a difference off the ice and on the ice, I think, is with DeBrincat. And DeBrincat is just a pure sniper, and those guys, they're hard to find in the league. So watch for him. Maybe not right away, but I would say as we get into the second half of Christmas and beyond, Detroit's going to be a team that's going to keep rising.
Part two of this question is, how much does Chicago hate that Chicago fans hate that he went there, or does it even matter anymore?
No, not anymore. No, we used to play in the Norris division, right? So they would have hated it back in the day. But Detroit is in the Eastern Conference now, and Chicago's in the West. And the other thing that helps,
but they still have a little bit of a rivalry, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago. Who else was in that? Let's see. Well, it was Minnesota. Then they moved to Dallas, but those teams are going to have a little rivalry, and there's always a little rivalry with the Leafs in Detroit. And of course, it's a big deal when they play Montreal and New York Rangers, because they're all original six. But I think with Chicago, their plate's full with everything Connor Bedard. So they're probably wishing he would have come back. It would have been good. But I don't think it's that big a deal, although they do play Chicago the night they're retiring Chris Chelios' jersey. So that's going to be a big night. Detroit's in Chicago in the second half of the season in New Year.
That should be a fun game to go to.
Yeah.
My next question, because we're going to do this for about another 7-8 minutes, and we're going to wrap it up on this question.
Yeah.
There was two games last week that were very interesting to me. One ended 8-1, I think, 8-1 or 6-1, and then the next one was 4-0. That was Dallas and the Lightning.
Yeah.
How does it flip from one team not scoring one night and one team not scoring the next night? It was the most bizarre. I didn't expect that to be that lopsided both nights.
Yeah, I watched that game, the 8-1 game, and parts of the 4-0. They just got them on the tracks, and they just ran them right over. Like, there was nothing Tampa could do as one of those nights.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it.
But to flip the next night to not getting one goal is bizarre.
Yeah, but it tells you a lot about the league that they can get pumped 8-1 and then come back and win 4-0. And like, they did it convincingly. Like, they didn't, and part of me is still hanging on to the pedigree that Tampa has. Like I just with the players they have, they're core guys. I just don't see them going away. So part of me was surprised they got pumped like that. But then they came back the next night at home and they played like 3 or 4 nights later in Tampa, and they shut out Dallas. And Dallas is, man, I mean, they're really good, but you know what? They still got some of those guys in Tampa that were part of that championship and that's why I think
the only difference in Tampa is they're not getting 120 points as a team and winning the President's Trophy, anymore. They're not that team that's running wild through the league the whole year, but they're still dangerous.
Okay, so
language, excuse me,
my God, the anger. I don't know what happened there, Brian. You better cut. Hey, Brian, you know what? Brian will just like send me an emoji with one finger pointing at me when I ask him to gotta beep that, but he won't. So here's the thing I was thinking about with Tampa the other night is look at the players they've lost. Palat's in New Jersey. McDonough is in Nashville. You go around the league and there's Colton is now in Colorado. And these guys, and there's other guys that they've lost off those championship winning teams, and they still find a way to, I think Maroon's not there anymore. But I think what's happened is for Tampa to get to the next level, and I'm talking about, I think Tampa makes the playoffs. So the next level for them would be a round or two, is they've got to find a way to get that depth in their bottom 6 forwards to contribute like the guys they used to have. And I'm trying to think, I had a whole laundry list of them the other night. I could only come up with 4 now, but they've lost quite a few guys off that team. And they still have the Hedmans, the Stamkos, the Kucherevs, the Sorellis, the Points. But if they can get, that buy-in from their bottom 6 and a little bit of help on their defense, there's no reason why they can't go a round or two. And all of a sudden you're looking at the conference finals, you're going, how's Tampa Bay make it back here? Well, you know what? Those guys just find a way to get it done normally when the playoffs come around.
I agree. And you know what the most insane part about that is Vasilevsky having back surgery 6 weeks ago or whatever it was, 8 weeks, and being able to play like that. I'm just like, I don't know if that's just everybody that trains him or him as a person, but that's unreal. Like that's
it's crazy.
It's insane. That's got to make the other players play just as well when you see a guy come back from surgery like that and start right back off. You're like, oh, maybe I should put an effort into this.
Well, and it gives you a peace of mind that they were able to hang in there while he was injured, and he's not going to find his game. I'm sure there'll be flashes of it, but there's some rust there. Like I would expect him to start finding his game and start feeling kind of back to 100% sometime in the new year, maybe around Christmas time, another 3-4 weeks. Like this guy is such a huge part of that organization that they brought him back in. And the other night, like even though they pumped a bunch of goals in on him, Cooper was sitting there going, well, I don't want to pull him because if I pull him, he's going to get mad at me. That's, whereas in other times, some goalies might just be like, it's not my night. But Vasilevsky's kind of a special breed. And then, it's funny because if you look in Florida, they're still relevant and the Panthers are back. And, and they're greasy. And so there's a lot going on if you're in both conferences, but like you look at these teams, like you said it earlier, you can't just start the season off, on a downer and expect to climb your way back in. These games are so competitive. These teams are all so good.
Yeah. We haven't even gotten to Columbus, which is Columbus is in trouble.
Well,
Columbus is in trouble. We haven't talked about Carolina. We haven't talked about Toronto. We barely talked about Boston. Every team is just kind of, I don't know.
Well, think about this. Let's talk about Columbus real quick. Are they in that much trouble, or like last night we both watched a little bit of them
Financially,
financially, yeah, it's they're a college town. They could be in trouble, but think about LA going in there down 3-0 third period, coming back, tying it, and then winning it in overtime. If you're a team like Detroit now is not losing those games, right? Like, you know what I mean? There's a level, like, as your team matures and your organization, Detroit isn't. And I'm not saying they're not going to give up a 3-goal lead this year, but when you go up 3-0 and you're up on a really good team in the third period, when you're getting ready to make that next step, become a playoff team, get to the next level, you find a way to get that to the house, even if it was in overtime. And the second half of that, well, the third period in overtime, LA turned it on and showed how great they are. Carolina, watched them in Winnipeg the other night. My take on Carolina
we didn't
is
talk about Winnipeg either.
no, well, Winnipeg's doing great, but Carolina to me, because we don't talk about the Carolina bunch, but I really think Carolina's got to find some more goal scoring, and because the way they play.
If I was Carolina, I'd be knocking on Columbus' door and see which one they want to get rid of more, Lane or Johnny Hockey, because those guys are going to need a change of scenery very quickly.
Well, at some point, though, when you start changing organizations, how much are you going to get for those guys? Like Johnny Hockey's not going anywhere, and then with Line, I mean, this guy's 6'5". He's just been kind of scuffling, whether it's injuries or this or that. He just kind of seems to get going, and then he gets kind of knocked back a little bit.
He's been there 3 years. The experiment hasn't worked.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure.
No, I know. No. Tell him fight back on me. Like I just don't. He fought Maurice in Winnipeg, right? He didn't want, but it's not really working out when they offered him everything. He could play however he wanted to play in Columbus. Right now, he's sitting on the bench a lot of nights.
It's
sitting in the stands.
A guy like that would benefit. Obviously, when you draft a guy, what was he, second overall? Wait, Matthews was first, he was second, right? Yeah. Or he was no lower than third. When you draft a guy like that, you expect him to be a marquee player, right? Mm-hmm. He's the kind of guy that looks great coming off the bus. He shoots the puck a million miles an hour. He's a big, strong guy. But he couldn't, when he came into Winnipeg, the first year he was really good. But then in the hierarchy of the Winnipeg room and the team, he couldn't find his spot. So now he moves down to Columbus, and you're looking for these high picks to kind of be leaders and franchise type players. And it hasn't worked out there. So I'm like, okay, where does he go where, if it doesn't work out in Columbus, where does he go where he can go into a really strong room and be just like, hey, Patrick Laine, you be Patrick Laine. This is what we want. But I'm pretty sure he's been told what they wanted in Winnipeg and in Columbus. But room dynamic might be a huge help to him. And I don't know what kind of room they have in Columbus. They might have the best room in the league, but he's getting healthy scratched. So obviously the organization is looking for more. What do you move him on, though? Like, you traded him for Pierre-Luc Dubois, who got traded to LA for Velarde, Iafallo, and
who's worked out for everybody.
Yeah, it's worked out great. And then I think it was not Granlund, but this young defenseman that we loved when we saw him in Ontario. He's in Winnipeg's organization now. And there's one other guy that went with that. Kapari, right? So they've turned Dubois into now these 4 guys that are going to be a big part of their organization. You're not going to get the same return right now for Patrick Laine. You kind of need him to get it going in Columbus and have them. You're really hoping, like San Jose looks like there's some light at the end of the tunnel. They're working really hard. They got some good things going. What's going on in Columbus? They need to get going, and we say that every time we talk about them, but they really do.
He kind of reminds me. His career kind of reminds me a little bit of Taylor Hall's. You know, he's
Mhm.
a big draft pick. He's really good. He plays well at times, but it isn't always, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe Chicago. Maybe he goes to Chicago.
I think wherever he goes, if they do move him, the organization that takes him on is going to have to feel really good about their room. Here's a team for you. I'm just going to throw it out there. They don't have a lot of room on their cap. Minnesota.
Hmm.
Okay, because Billy Guerin, he, how's it? Steel hands with a velvet glove, right?
Yeah.
So he'll take care of you, but there's no question how he wants. There's nobody guessing how Billy Guerin wants them to play in mini. John
Yeah.
Hines has come in; they're 4-0 under him. Minnesota's a team. Philadelphia is another team, but with Torts, that might be where they could use that dynamic player and goal scoring. And I think the room would be strong enough by the looks of the way, especially the way Minnie's rallied and the way Philly's rallied. They all get along really well, and they're pulling in the same direction. So I don't know. I mean, salary cap implications obviously weigh in on all of that as well.
I'm trying to think of the Flyer. I think the Flyers have a lot of room.
How
A
about
lot of
Arizona? We haven't like Arizona's on a roll, but
Arizona's pinned right up against the salary cap.
okay.
I love it. Okay, let's wrap this up. We've had you're in Canada, just trying to get the country back together, put all the provinces.
That's right.
Do you have any shout outs? I got a shout out this week.
Okay, I do. I'm going to shout out an old Terrace.
I'm Terrace shouting out.
Yeah, well, I'll shout out all of Terrace, but a guy by the name of Willie Schneider up there who wrote a book that said, bullets aren't flying when people are talking. And I think that has a way of transcending way past that. And what we were talking about at the start of the show about hockey is if we're talking, we're not fighting. And so we might not agree, but Willie wrote a book, and anyways, kind of a little bit of a Terrace legend, and just a shout out to Willie Schneider.
What's the book? Do you know the book?
I'm not telling you; it's a secret.
No, he doesn't remember the name of the book. It's called
I
Dallas.
just said he wrote a book. I didn't say I read it.
Here's the name of the book. Here's the name of the book. Dallas Green ends up in Columbus in the Western Conference.
Hey, what's the name of the book?
Tools.
What's up with the probing questions? It was a shout out. I don't need a dissertation. What's the name of the book?
I can quote the book, but I don't know its name.
Because you know where I got the quote from? I got the quote from my nephew the other day, and I thought that was awesome. So we'll have Kalen on one day. We'll have him plug in and do a little quick video. And he can tell us about it. And so anyways, talking in circles, but we're up in the Great White North. It's been good to be home. I'm going to be back next 24 hours, and then we're going to get a guest for next week.
Hey, by the way, I got to bring this up. Wow. Since the last time we talked, you and Rod are now working for the same company. Did you see
That's
that
right.
coming?
I know, I didn't.
Wow.
Can you say plot twist?
I was just like, wow.
I laughed. Busky and I were laughing about it because when you merge companies, and I've been through this before, and Rod's got a lot of experience in the aviation world, nothing ever happens quickly. And so people get all bent out of shape, and I understand it because people are like, hey, whoa, we had our life going down this path. Now, what's now we've got like a T in the road, right? Or a fork in the road. What's going to happen? But we both kind of just chuckled about it. And it was kind of, we're back on the same team again, Rod and I. So
I love it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it actually. And you know what, but this kind of thing, and we're talking about airline mergers, and I'm sure big mergers and other companies are the same. It'll take years for this thing to come together. So what I do is I'm just going to live day at a time, and that's what Rod's going to do. But it's kind of fun. We're back together again on the back nine of our of our careers.
I love it. It all just
Hey, we're together on the ice and in the air.
You guys are attached at the hip. I want to give.
I'm happy. I'm happy. You know what? Back with Busky. It's good stuff.
It's awesome. My shout out this week goes to so our moms used to work at a clinic together, and all the ladies from the clinic have a Christmas lunch, and they haven't had it since before COVID, and they all got back together last week and had a Christmas lunch, and they all sat around. I seen a picture of it, and they all sat around and had a good time and talked. But my sister was out of town, and a family friend made sure that my mom got to that lunch. So I want to thank Kathy for making sure my mom got to that lunch, because my mom needed to get out and have a good chat with the ladies. So Merry Christmas to all of them.
Merry Christmas.
No, it's not. Not yet. Not yet. It's not Christmas yet.
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. We might have a little bit of a conundrum, because my mom was supposed to go pick up Robin, but then Kathy cut her grass.
Oh, is that what happened?
Well, Mom said, "I'll pick you up, Robin," but I think Kathy had already bolted in there. So yeah, it's good.
Thank you to Kathy, but I just love that they were all able to get out and have lunch together, because I know as you get older, those kind of things mean a lot. So
they do. And here's they're all nurses, and we love nurses, and the stuff that nurses put up with and see and deal with. The Emerson Clinic crew, that's the great group, and I hope they had a good time. I know my mom did. So anything else?
No, that's it. Left all.